Baku. Ladies and gentlemen, Formula One XRL League, running with the X3 drivers, is going to come to its 7th race today in city street circuits in Azerbaijan. 19 drivers are poised to take the green flag, and we could be looking at a very, very interesting day. The one thing that people are going to be very, very curious and anxious about is going to be the weather. We have no idea what the weather might end up turning out to be like today. Nearly the entire field of X3 regulars are showing up today as we are beginning to load up into the normal qualifying run. So a 19 driver field will be running here on the streets of Azerbaijan, a circuit that is a much more recent addition to the Formula One calendar compared to the legacy that Monaco has. But we could definitely be looking at a very interesting event today here.
Well, if the development league race was any indication, it certainly is going to be a very interesting race today. We had quite a few DNFs in Dev League yesterday. I believe the final count was 9. And a lot of those occurring in the castle section, as well as coming into turns 1 through 3. So that's something drivers are going to need to be very mindful of today.
Qualifying, as usual, is going to be the first day in XRL, is that we always do the coverage of qualifying, so you really get to see the progression of the stories of the race from start to end here.
Indeed. What are your predictions as far as qualifying times? In development league, we were seeing times running all the way down to the low 138s and as high as the mid 143s.
I think the pole time could easily be 136.5, with a little, assuming that our fastest drivers like Iridisa and Mon have put on enough practice and everything. They could definitely get, I'd say, 136.5s. That would be my suggestion. I've been wrong before. I've put suggestions down and been blown out of the water, and it would be a very, very pleasant treat to get my expected time blown out of the water today also.
I'm actually going to go a little bit more conservative. I'm going to say, with a lot of pace that we've seen out of X3 drivers this season, I'm going to call for a mid to high 137 is about where I think I'm going to put it today. It'll be very interesting to see how it plays out. So we see now that everyone is loading in, expecting to start Q1 here very shortly.
Here we are. Black screen, that normally means that they will get going right afterwards.
And ladies and gentlemen, just a little bit of advance notice. Apparently, on my end, I am experiencing some minor technical difficulties, so if I do drop out on comms very briefly, I do apologize for that. My router at present is blinking in and out on me.
Oof. So my biggest interest is going to be what the tire selection is going to be going into the race. These races are half length of the full event, since we already see one of the Haas's coming out and the Williams coming out. I'm trying to see which Haas that is. That is Scholl in the Williams who has come out, and Gusty is the driver ahead of him, so they will be the first two drivers out here on the circuit. I'm gonna be honest. The last corner and first corner here remind me a little bit of Mount Panorama at Bathurst. The really, really harsh 90-degree corners at the start-finish line that makes it very, very difficult to make good passes at in either corner. I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm just saying it becomes very, very difficult to do here.
Absolutely. Now as far as tires to qualify on from Q1, we're going to see the majority of drivers are going to come out on the soft compound to lay down their initial times, and then I would expect in Q2 that drivers would go again for the soft or possibly the medium compound, probably more so the medium compound. Because given the race distance here, with it being a 26 lapper, a medium to hard tire strategy is going to be your best bet around here. So I would expect to see softs in Q1 and mediums through Q2 and above.
Gusty has pulled over, enables Schultz to go ahead and get some clean track ahead of him, as Schultz is coming through the latter parts of the castle section right now. High-speed corners all the way through. This is also a circuit where a big element is trying to set up the proper wing balance. You want to have a very, very efficient wing balance because a lot of the circuit here is long straightaways. There's not a whole lot of technical high downforce corners here, but you don't want to just go completely Monza style, rip off all the downforce, and end up with a car that's super unstable in the few slower corners you have in the castle section. Balance when it comes to wing setup is extremely important. I've been following the XRL Discord for the days leading up to this event. Basically, everybody seems to have struggled a little bit trying to find an ideal wing setup to chase, whether it be for qualifying or the race itself. And that's not just an X3 thing, it seems to be something that also was coming up in the Dev League and X2 as well. Alright, Schultz, who is on his first flying lap, is now out here in the castle section now. A little bit of an uphill bit right here. A lot of really short straightaways. He's going to open up really nice here. There's going to be a nice, quick left-hand flick. Second one. And as you're going downhill, as the way the car starts leaning towards the front, you have to get on the brakes, be very careful, because these are front brake bias heavy cars. But it looks like right now he's got a good time in Sector 2 as he's now entering Sector 3. This section is almost all flat out. You see him all the way already up into 8th gear here. 320 kilometers an hour. And he will set the first lap time of the day.
And kind of to touch on what you said very briefly, especially with having that long back straight here at Baku, you're typically going to want to look at a downforce that allows you to maximize your straight line speed coming through. So a 2.5 or a 2.4 downforce is not unheard of here.
And Turbo has already dropped out of the event. Something has happened to Turbo there in the last corner of the track. I can't see it right now. He's not in a position where any of the cameras can catch it, but I think he may have ruined his car. Yes, he has. That car is completely destroyed. The right front tire is ripped off. We saw it briefly there as Hazel drove by. So Ferrari continues to be struggling. Yes, they qualifying for the events today, and Sector 3 is going to have a yellow flag for that reason. It looks like it's already cleared up, and Hazel has gone to the top of the times.
Yeah, just dropping a very impressive 139.463 in stark contrast to Blake, who he just unseated. And Blake had that 141. Oh, and now Cargo has a 140.632. Hazel running just over a second faster.
The real question, though, is going to be Iridisa and Mon, the two Mercedes factory drivers. They have been some of the strongest guys all season long, and Iridisa is now beginning to exit the pit lane, so we may see in a few minutes what the real times are going to be saying. These two have almost always been the top 3 or top 4 positions when it comes to qualifying times.
Indeed, it'll be very interesting to see how this plays out in Q2 and Q3. Hazel had a very impressive run in the development league. I believe his qualifying time was a hair south of 138, which is some of the fastest times we've seen so far this season. Although we have X1 going on concurrently with this race. It'd be very interesting to see what the qualifying times are out of that, let alone lap times during the race. And just a quick rundown of the top 10. We have Hazel holding on to P1 with a 139.46.
Retro has spun himself around coming out of the final corner. I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but Retro just put down a time of 142.669. Put the power down a little bit heavy in the final, coming out of the first corner. Whipped the car right around. He didn't take any damage initially, but as he turned the car back around to get underway again, he ended up smashing the right front of the wing against the outside wall. He needs to come all the way around the track just to replace that wing. It's going to be a very difficult drive for him. He does not have the downforce on the front of that car that he's going to need. Hazel has gotten to the top of the lap times though, 139.463. He has already retired back into the pits, going to calm down just a bit, download new information with the team before probably going out there and seeing if maybe he can find an extra little bit of time. If the track's clean enough, Q1 is not a bad time to try and find that extra little bit for Q2 and Q3. You can almost look at it as like an extra 4 minutes of practice, I guess.
Oh, and Retro having a rough time getting through the castle section with that damage. He's gonna have to be very conservative about how he gets this car around into the pits to be able to get a new wing put on to have any chance right now as of making through Q1, as he's 2 positions away from being in the drop zone at this point. And,
a little bit of a lockup there in that last 90-degree corner. The big thing with Retro is that behind him he has the 2 Red Bulls of XRL Desilia and XRL Tome behind him. They both really have to hope that he doesn't end up doing anything that screws them over as Retro bounces off the outside wall there in the last little bit. Now he's swerving down the front straightaway. Is he going to? He's opened up the DRS apparently. No, he's not. He's going to come into the pits. Excellent choice. Going to come in before that car is falling apart on him. And this means Desilio and Tome will both be able to set down outright laps here. A little less than 9.5 minutes left in the session right now. And Hazel has retired from the session. No need to further the lap time chase right now.
Okay, now coming back to that top 10 rundown real quick, we have Hazel holding on to pole with a 139.463. Huber with a 139.506, good enough for P2. Cargo following closely with a 140.282. Walla, and Erdica is now jumped into P3 with a 139.987. Flying Wallaby now in P5 with a 140.605. XRL Snake following him with a 140.727. Fratters with a 140.985, Blake with a 141.128, Jono 141.460, and Fritz rounding out the top 10 with a 141.631. Very interesting to note, literally there's about a 1.5 separation between pole and P10. These drivers in P11, P11 and below are going to have to really put the pedal to the metal to maintain position so that they are not eliminated going into Q2.
Desilio and Tome are now coming out of the castle section. It's all flat out from here. There is enough of a gap between them that they are not going to end up hampering or helping each other in this long DRS focused straight here. But Desilio will be the first Red Bull across the line. Down here, DRS is nice and open. And at the line, Desilio is going to put on a 142.308. Not the very good time. Tome is going to smash him. Tome gets in the top 10 with a 141.566. So right now, Red Bull's chances are iffy on making it into Q2. There are still 2 other drivers, XRL Cookie and Mon, who have yet to set down their laps. And Tome gets knocked out of the top 10 and as well. He falls to 11th.
Okay, and looks like Looks like Erdika is getting ready to come across the line. He's got that 139.987. See if he can shave a little bit of time off there and possibly unseat Hazel from pole position.
Lisa got by alignment of 139.987, so it doesn't seem like the improvement was much. Hubert is still second on the timesheets at the moment, but only those three drivers, Hazel, who's already pulled off, Hubert, and Irdisa, they are the only three drivers to have broken the 140 barrier at the moment. I may have went a little bit too excessive, I guess, when anticipating what the lap times were going to be here. But it is Q1. I think right now the focus on the top guys are going to be finding little bits of speed here and there rather than trying to put together a full lap. Irdisa is on a faster lap this time, though. He's got time up in Q1.
One of the big things to take into consideration also is track temperatures through Q1 are also remaining low. We're still getting the track rubbered in a little bit. So once the track does get fully rubbered in and comes up to temperature, I think we'll see those lap times start dropping significantly. Oh, it looks like we have someone off in sector 2. I believe that was. Fritz had come off slightly. I don't know if he was just pulling off to avoid blocking another driver's lap or if he had made contact with the wall. I'm not seeing any initial, and I am seeing indications I thought for a moment there might have been some indications of damage on Fritz's car. It looks like he might have taken off the left end plate, but I see now that he is intact.
Irdisa has now closed the gap on the top spot. He has kicked Hubert out from second. He is now just 1/100th of a second off from Hazel at the top.
And
don't push too hard yet, mate.
And Gusty has retired from session, locking himself in at P9 with a 141.156, good enough to get him through to Q2, provided that no one else betters that time.
Cookie and Mon are both on their laps right now, and either of them we could see going into the top 10 if they get everything together, especially XRL Mon. I think he's almost a lock to make it in the top 5 in the times, as he's coming down to the final hard 90-degree course. The right-hander, nice bit of runoff through here.
And Cookie actually coming through there very clean. I'm actually impressed by that. He had a little bit of difficulty in the development league race yesterday, but it seems that he's sorted out whatever shortcomings that he had. And he's putting down a fairly good run. Let's see what he's able to accomplish here. Getting ready to come across the line, pouring on the DRS now in P18. He needs to post a 142.733. Unfortunately, that's still going to leave him in the drop zone, but he does have opportunity to get about 2 more laps in if he's quick about it.
The one who unsurprisingly went to the top, though, was XRL Mon, 4th on the timesheets, 139.517. So the spread of difference in speed between 4th and 5th place is roughly 7/10 of a second right now. And this also makes it very, very difficult for Gusty, who decided to retire early. He is now 10th on the timesheets. If one person lower than him puts down a better time than him, he will not advance to Q2. That's the risk of retiring early. Yes, you preserve the car, but there's the risk that other drivers figure out the track as the track rubbers in, as they get more comfortable with it, and could end up knocking you out.
Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and correct you real quick right there. I apologize, but Q1, the top 15 drivers.
Oh, 15.
With the top 15
I thought 10.
No, you're perfect.
I've been doing this for how many weeks and I made that mistake?
Oh, you're fine. Now Q2, only the top 10 drivers advance, but in Q1, the top 15 will advance. And actually, with a 19 driver field, I'm going to correct myself. It may be only the top 14 will advance out of Q1. Gusty now holding on to P11.
Gazilio is on another outlap right now. He has 2 minutes and 35 seconds to finish this lap up. He's on the front. He's pretty much on the front straightaway right now as he comes around that final high-speed corner. So hopefully he's able to make this work, and we'll be able to improve his time a little bit to 10 with his teammate XRL X3 who's currently 13th on the timesheets. The difference between them is nearly 0.8 of a second right now. But the big improvement, well, not a big improvement, but a significant improvement is XRL Cookie has gone from 18th to 15th. He has a 141.725 right now, but he is slowing down. I think he's not going to try and push for it right now. I think he's going to just use this as a cooldown lap and will be pinning at the end of the circuit. XRL Snake has retired from the session with a time of 140.727.
That's actually a very reasonable time for him. I'd like to see what he's able to do going into Q2 if he can better that time, because he's got it very much in him with his pace this season. He's got it very much in him to be a contender for a potential podium in this race.
The Alfa Romeo cars of XRL Cargo and Flying Wallaby, neither of them are on the track right now, but they're right next to each other in time. 140.282 for Cargo, 140.605 for Wallaby. So definitely looking very good for the two of them. They will easily advance into Q2 right now. Also, we have 15 people watching right now, so to those of us watching hell, this is normally a lot more than we have watching live during the XRL broadcast. It seems like most of the Twitch views come after the race, so thank you for those of us who are joining right now as we are in Q1, about to wrap up Q1 actually, for XRL X3 here at Azerbaijan.
And we see now that Hauser and Erlich are running extremely close together in their times, but less than 100 to the second separating these two drivers.
Right now, Electra Fritz has a 141.631. He is coming out of that final 90-degree corner. Power down. He is 15th on the timesheets. He's looking to see if he can improve because he definitely is feeling the heat from AKA Smish. Smish is the only driver right now who is in a position to potentially leap over him.
And he is actually not going to be able to, according to XRL rules, he is not going to be able to complete a hot lap because the timer has now expired, unfortunately.
Yeah. Fritz goes ahead and pulls into the pits, and according to the rules.
Just a little bit of bad luck for him, unfortunately.
So now the question is, AKA Smish. He has got a 141.815 at the moment. This is his lap. If he's going to break into the top 15, he needs to do it now. And you are absolutely right with the tire expectations. Everyone runs softs and stayed on softs for the entire session. Ooh! Smish gets really squirrely there in the castle section. The rear end got kicked out. He was about 15 degrees angled at the moment. He got back into the curl. He's underway. Didn't hit anything, but definitely a little bit of a heart jumping in the throat moment there as he's running down to that 90-degree left-hander for the final time today.
And that seemingly nothing. Oh, we have a driver off in the coming into the entry to sector 3.
Yeah, that's Gazilio.
Wonder what happened there.
I wonder if he pulled off to give Smish room.
I think.
And no, Smish is going to abort the lap. Smish aborts the lap, so he will not advance, and Fritz is going to make it in. But something seems to be wrong with Gazilio's car. He's underway now, but he spent a large amount of time just kind of parked there, just a little bit off the racing line, in one of the faster sections on the circuit. What's wrong with that car, I wonder?
And that's it. It's looking like, from what I'm seeing on his telemetry, it looks like he is in low fuel mode. Like he may have misestimated the amount of fuel that he had in the car to be able to complete that final lap around.
Well, XR Gazilio, at least this mistake came really late after he already set his time down. His time was a 140.985. He is currently 10th on the timesheets as he is going to coast into the pit lane. There's only one car still out on the racetrack right now as far as I can tell, and that is the Renault XRL Blake. However, it's more than likely that the control of that car has been already taken over by the game's AI at the moment, considering that he already has the checkered flag by his name. I don't imagine he's just out there circling for kicks. So we have completed our Q1 qualifying here. The biggest disappointment easily is a continuing rounds of heartbreak for the Scuderia Ferrari drivers. XRL Turbo does not even make it for a full lap. He ends up DNFing and totaling the car. He will be 19th. But very shortly here, we'll get to see the entire lineup of all 15 drivers who made it into Q2. Go ahead and run us down, please.
All right, in pole we have Hazel, XRL Ertica in P2, Huber in P3, Mon in P4, Cargo in P5, Flying Walby in 6th, XRL Snake in 7th, Schuld in 8th, Blake 9th, Jeslo 10th, Fratters in 11th, XRL Jono in 12th, Tome in P13, Gusty in P14, Fritz and Fritz rounding out the pack in P15, Cookie, Smish, Retro Rixie, and Turbo unfortunately not making the qualifying window, and they will not be advancing into Q2.
One of the personal opinion, one of the benefits of qualifying at this circuit compared to something like Monaco, very, very tight, is that, yes, there are some tight corners here, but it's a really, really large track. We didn't really see a whole lot of scenarios during Q1 of drivers end up holding up the track and possibly damaging other people's lap times. I think we can see a lot of people going balls to the wall here in Q2 because there's going to be even more track open to them.
Indeed, and well, one thing that I've always appreciated about the XRL leagues is, for the most part, as you advance into the higher tiers of the league, you do see a lot more driver discipline. You see a lot more awareness, and you just see a lot more of the subtleties of drivers racing really starting to come out as you advance into the higher tiers. That's why those positions are so often sought over, because it's just the racing gets cleaner as you advance. I've generally found.
I got the pleasure to do broadcasting for the X2 category at both Netherlands and Spain recently, and I can definitely attest to that. The racing is definitely cleaner there. However, I will say this, just from a broadcaster's perspective, race results tend to be a little bit more finalized early on in those events, typically simply because the field ends up a lot more spread out and end up running their own pace. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, that's up to you, but if you're one of those people who might come from like a more NASCAR-style background where you're anticipating things could happen any lap, all the laps, you may generally end up preferring like the development leagues or X3. If you're more interested in just seeing the perfect, it's going to seem really idealistic, but that idealized harmony between man and machine, yeah, you'll be a lot closer to that in X2 or X1 category for sure. Hazel is the first driver to come out to the circuit right now. Now, the current lap is an out lap. The entire section is red. He ran really, really wide a little bit before he got into the castle section, and definitely would have invalidated this lap if it was a lap. But he is coming down now. He's got the DRS open, and he also is one of the drivers who is starting out on the medium tire compound, as he is now beginning his first lap.
It'll be very interesting to see if he's able to improve his Q1 time. As I was talking about earlier, with the track now being rubbered in a little bit, track temperature starting to come up, it'll be interesting to see what he posts. And as I predicted, a lot of drivers now starting to make the transition to the medium tires, hoping to lock in a solid time on those tires. And keep in mind that if you are inside the top 10 coming out of Q2 and Q3, the tires that qualify on will be the tires that you start the race on. So these drivers are also going to be careful not to put too much wear on those tires as well.
Snake and Jono doing a little bit of a DRS position swapping on the front straightaway there, as now Snake has given over the position in front of Jono. So Jono's going to have, on those soft tire compounds, full flying time, and there is a yellow flag there in Sector 2. It looks like XRL Mon has gone... oh, and Mon had a collision with Schold, apparently. Race Control says that Schold and Mon got into each other, so two Mercedes-powered machines taking damage, and yes, Schold is completely off the circuit here in second sector. He's going to get underway here. I'm trying to see if there's any damage on that car.
So we could potentially...
And yes, the front wing is completely ripped off, apparently, from Schold's machine after making contact earlier. Hazel goes to the top of the 140.746, but Schold needs to be kind of careful here. He still has two really technical corners and then a series of very fast corners. He's going to pull over. It will enable a bunch of these drivers who are on flying laps to get by, so excellent decision by him. He will not hold up the other drivers, but definitely very frustrating for him.
And Schold is going to receive a 5-place grid penalty as a result of that incident. It looks like he is the one that made contact with Mon, so he is going to suffer a 5-place grid penalty as a result of that contact.
Well, we now have 3 lap times, make that 4 lap times, and shortly we're going to make it 5 lap times up on the board. Hazel is at the top of the 140.786. Electra Fritz is the closest to him at the moment at the 141.187. Flying Wallaby jumps up to third at the 141.339. But Gussie and Snake are the really odd ones out. Everyone else is in the 141 range. The two of them, 147, 148s. They're not seeming to get those medium tire compounds to set the times that the likes of Blake, Iridisa, Wallaby, and Hazel are yet. Are both on outlaps right now as they appear to be navigating their way through the castle section right now. I'm trying to see who that is who's abnormally slow in Sector 1, and that is Electra Fritz. It looks like he has already set his lap time. He's pulling over to enable the likes of XRL Blake to have cleaner lap time ahead of him.
And Hazel on those medium tires has posted only a slightly slower time than what he posted in Q1, posting up a 140.746. I have a feeling with him sitting at the top of the leaderboard with 9 minutes to go, that he may opt to lock that time.
Oh, and Hubert spins it out of the final corner. There's no one. Yes, there is. His teammate in the Haas is coming by right now, but there's enough track there that he doesn't have to worry about it. Hubert trying to make sure that he's able to get around before Tom and Gazilio show up. And here comes the Red Bulls, but here we are. Hubert is already back underway. Hubert just started his flying lap, put the power down way too hard coming out of that final corner, and whipped it around nice and clean. Did not damage the car off of anything, but that lap is not going to help him, for sure.
Not at all. For a moment there was a little bit of concern with that Red Bull coming up fast behind him if he was going to be able to get over in time. It looks like he was, however, able to get over so as not to block the Red Bull's hot lap, and that Red Bull belonging to, I believe, let's see,
XRL
that was
the XRL Tone has now pulled over to enable, I believe, XRL Mon to get some clean lap time as well. There's a little bit of a gaggle of cars here entering
Sector 2.
Castle section right now. Yeah. Because here comes XRL Snake. He's going to come around the outside, fire it up, and very nearly, okay, that was weird. Very nearly touches the wall there in the castle section after being by XRL Tone, but now he has a clean lap time ahead of him. He is currently the slowest driver on the timesheets right now with a 142.477. This is his second lap, I believe. No, third lap on the mediums. Nice up. He's got his time up in Sector 2. So if Snake stays with it, he might be able to improve his time just a little bit more. His teammate Jono is, and Snake hits the outside wall and rips off part of that front wing. That's not going to help him one bit. It's going to be some significant damage, I would think. That car smacked that wall, and he's going to go ahead and jump into the pits. But, yeah, that was... I'm not sure if he was going for a fast lap and ended up messing up, or if he was just not paying attention on his cooldown lap. But either way, hopefully we'll be able to get the repairs to that wing done, or just swap out the front wing altogether real quickly. Hubert has set his lap time, but because of that spin, it's added roughly 18 or so between 18 and 22 seconds to his time. He has 2:02.536 at the moment.
Indeed,
So,
we've been seeing a little bit of excitement out here today.
And DeZilio has gone off there in turn 1 completely. He's pulling back onto the circuit. There's no one around him, so he is clean. But DeZilio, who is on his out lap on cold tires, ends up running really, really wide in turn 1. There is a nice runoff section there, just in case you do run wide there. So, thankfully, the FIA circuit designers thought a little bit ahead there, but not something you want to see from DeZilio. He's on his out lap here along with Fratters. The two of them have yet to actually set a lap time. Same with XRL Tome, who has yet to set a lap time as well. He's still in the pits with just about 5.5 minutes left in the session. And then you have Scholl, who made contact earlier with Iridisa. He's trying to desperately put down some sort of lap time so he doesn't end up starting dead last with that 5-second grid penalty. And then XRL Mon as well. He is flying. He's through the sector 2. And he's coming down. He will set his lap time, I imagine, right here.
Nah, and indeed, with just over 5 minutes remaining to go in Q2, we presently have 5 drivers in the drop zone. Those being Snake, Jazilo, Fratters, Tome, and Schuld. Snake looking like if he can just shave a little over 1/10 of a second off, that'll be enough for him to unseat Huber from P10, because he is on the soft tire compound. So if he can pull out just over 1/10 of a second, he will get into P10.
But the real big thing is XRL Mon. He went right from the bottom to the top with a 140.712, so he has now unseated Hazel at the top of the circuit right now. Both of those cars are on medium tire compounds right now. The next driver who we anticipate to set down a lap time will... One second. Someone was slow there in Sector 2. That was Mom. Mom was pulling over to enable cleaner track. But the next driver I anticipate to see a new lap time from will be Fratters, as he is coming through that last little high-speed corner there on the front straightaway. He is 14th. He has not set a time yet. He is on the medium tire compounds. Will he be able to put enough time down to break into the top 10? He is aborting. He is going to abort his lap.
Okay, and looking at Snake coming up the main DRS straight. Let's see what he's able to do here.
He has finished his out lap. He is now starting his full-on qualifying lap.
We're going to go ahead and ride on board with him. Very clean into turn 1. Good exit, setting him up very nicely for turn 2. He's got a purple thing. He's managed to pull out a purple sector 1. We could be looking at the run that could advance us into Q3 here.
Very, very close over the rumble strips there in the first little bits of Sector 2. I'm kind of shocked that didn't invalidate his lap, but he's still going. He's still good at the moment as he's in the castle section. His teammate XRL Dono has pulled over just a little bit ahead of him. And a purple Sector 2 as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, this could be the lap that does it for him.
down the straightaway. He may have a little bit of draft from his teammate XRL Jono. Snake second, 140.745. I anticipated him to improve. I did not anticipate for him to improve that much, though.
Oh, that was absolutely amazing. Catapulted all the way up into P2, only 300ths of a second off of Mon.
Now the next driver who's more than likely going to improve his time, XRL told him he's going to go from no time to Sena time here. Coming down, DRS Open, he was purple in Sector 2. And at the line, XRL Tome sets a time of 140.929 on the soft tire compounds. So he launches himself into the top 5, basically guaranteeing Snake and Tome will advance into Q3.
And you've got to wonder what's going on.
Scholl knocked it into the wall there, entering the castle section. So Q2 is really going poorly for Scholl here. 5-second grid penalty. He's now damaged the front wing of that car as well. It looks like it may be a last row starting spot for Scholl for this race.
And kind of looking at the stream chat here, it's low in reference to Snake's lap has just gone, damn, soft life. So Snake putting up a very impressive run.
Cargo to the top, 140.236.
Oh wow! You have got to wonder what's going through Mon and Snake's mind at this point with Cargo pulling 5/10 out of both drivers now. Could potentially be setting himself up for a really interesting race.
Cargo set that time, improving on the other two by roughly a whole half second, but he did that with the soft tire compounds. I have to wonder that if they can make sure Cargo doesn't set the pole position, it might not be an issue. They may not have to worry too much about it. After all, the top 10 spots on the grid are set by Q3 times. So if they can just keep Cargo locked out from the top spot, he might not end up being too much of an issue. Fratters is coming down here. I don't think this is going to be a good time. I'm not even sure if this is going to be a legal time. They saw him cut a lot of circuit, and the track map shows that almost all the track is red for him. But this is his only chance. Will Fratters have a legal lap, let alone an actual good lap here? Coming down to it, Fratters, the last guy to set a lap time down. No, he does not set a single lap time in the entirety of Q2.
So it looks like the drivers that are going to advance will be XRL Cargo advancing with a 140.238, Mon right behind him with a 140.712, Snake with a 140.745, again 300ths of a second separating those drivers, Hazel with a 140.746, Tome with a 140.929, Fritz with a 141.187, Huber with a 141.247, Wallaby with a 141.339, Ertica with a 141.405, and Jono rounding out the top 10 with a 141.426. Drivers in the drop zone are Dusty, Jeslo, Blake, Schuld, and Fratters.
You gotta feel bad for both Scholl and Fratters. Fratters, despite running soft tire compounds, not able to set a single clean lap, and then to an extent Scholl as well made contact with Iridisa early on in Q2, gives him a 5-second grid penalty. He spent the entire session trying to outrun it, only 14th. If you add 5 to that, that would be a 19th place starting spot at the best. So he basically locked into the last row. Very tough for Scholl. The only good news is that more than likely I think he will get the start on the medium tire compound, so he might be able to pull off something with strategy, assuming he avoids potential carnage in the first 3 or 4 corners here.
Absolutely, and what's really impressing me is the separation we're seeing in lap times. We're not seeing a big gap really between any of these lap times. So I'm looking for a lot of potential battles between these drivers. I mean, P6 through P10, there's only 2/10 at a max, 3/10 of a second separation between those drivers' times. So it'd be really interesting to see how this plays out going into Q3.
Yep. The only significant gap that I see as well is roughly a 1/1800th second gap between Hazel and Tome for 4th and 5th, and then a half-second gap roughly between Cargo and Mom. But again, Cargo more than likely got that time off the back of those soft tire compounds while Mom was running mediums. Excuse me, I'm sorry about that.
Now,
but yeah.
Now that being said, I'm looking for in Q3 between Cargo and Wallaby, with them being teammates. I'm looking for them to tow each other around the track with the aim of possibly getting a 1-2 start. I think with Cargo running the times there's the potential very much to see a 1-2 start happen if Wallaby can catch a good tow off him in Q3.
Mm-hmm. We could see something similar between Snake and Jono. The two McLarens helped each other get into this position, doing the same thing in Q2. The only other team that has teammates out there that would be able to do that is Iridisa and Mon driving the factory Mercedes cars.
And then we also have
everyone else running single car representations for their teams right now.
We also have Snake and Jono in 7th and 8th that we could also see too. So we do actually have three teams in Q3 that could potentially pull off moves like that. It'll be very interesting to see how it plays out.
Well, the first person to try to see how everything's going to play out and try to establish a little bit of early Q3 dominance is WCD Hubert, trying to warm the tires up there as he rounds through turn 2. Also, I'm going to make a brief apology. I have several times called the last corner, and I've called turn 1. I do apologize for that. I will admit I am not super familiar with Formula 1 circuits as I'd like to be, and I thought I had this track memorized, and for whatever reason I thought the start-finish line was in between turns 1 and 2. So I apologize for that little hiccup here thus far. When Hubert went around earlier, it was in turn 2 and not turn 1.
I've made the same mistake from time to time. I don't feel bad at all. It happens to the best of us. Alright, the majority of drivers now on their outlaps in Q3. The only drivers that we have not seen come out yet are going to be XRL Snake and XRL Jono.
XRL Mon is right there behind one of the Alfa Romeo cars in the castle section. I wonder if he's going to try and hold behind him to try and get a little bit of a draft going down the straightaway or not. Curious to see that. No, he's actually going to pull onto the brake so that way there's cleaner air in front of him. That might hurt Mon's time just a little bit. He's not going to be quite at full speed when he starts his first flying lap. So that might be interesting to see. That small little cautiousness of making sure there's a gap between you and the car ahead of you might end up hurting him by just a 10th or 2 once we start getting down to it here. And XRL Tome is pulled back into the pits, so he set an outlap, didn't even finish the outlap, he just immediately pulled into the pits, and it looks like the wing was damaged on that car on the right front.
Riding on board with Hazel here, looks like he has invalidated his lap.
Ooh, WCD Hubert almost on the outside wall on the downhill run, but he has gotten a purple sector 2. He will be the first person more than likely to set a lap time down. It would be kind of hard to invalidate a lap here in sector 3. It's very much a full-bore, flat-out section of the circuit. Coming down. DRS opens up, and at at the line. The first lap time of Q3 here at Azerbaijani is going to be a 1:39.986 by WCD Hubert. Here comes Flying Wallaby. He will be the second driver to set a lap time down.
Oh, and Flying Wallaby has stepped over Hubert with a 0.3 faster lap time, and Mon has now jumped up with a 1:39.259 to snatch pole away from Flying Wallaby.
Cargo goes up to fourth with a 1:40.177 here, and now we're going to see Iridisa come down, the other factory's Mercedes car. He's going to jump up to second. So right now, Mercedes lockout. Iridisa 1:39.302. I anticipate Snake will be the next person to put down a fast lap here. As he is entering the castle section, he only has one car ahead of him, and that's by a significant amount, and that's Hubert. So I think Snake, as long as he doesn't dirty the car and he smacks that wall on the run downhill, hopefully it didn't knock out the toe or anything, but he definitely smacked that car nice and straight with that McLaren. Right-hand side, doesn't matter, he's still in it, going down the front straightaway. We're going to see what Snake can do. Can he jump into the top spots? Hazel's just a little bit behind him, but Hazel invalidated this lap if memory serves correctly, and there's a yellow flag there in Sector 3.
And Snake has jumped up into P8 with a 1:40.882.
Hazel, behind him though, was able to take advantage of the DRS, 1:39.183, so he's going to just lay all over the Mercedes team and say, yeah, take the pole from me, try it.
Oh my. Ladies and gentlemen, this is definitely starting to heat up as we get into the closing minutes of Q3. Just under 6 minutes to go now.
Tom is on his first flying lap. He could have done this a little bit earlier, but he ended up knocking part of the front wing off. However, this might end up being a small benefit to him. There is absolutely no one ahead of him for at least a good kilometer, and the two drivers who are ahead of him on track, which is Hazel and Snake, have already set their lap times. I don't imagine that they're going to really be an issue. Tom is probably going to have the cleanest track he may have all session long here. Yono has yet to exit the pits, though. That's the crazy part. You'd think they would get Jono out there to try and help give a tow to Snake, but apparently not yet.
You know, this could be a strategic move on his part, though, because a lot of times, especially on the street circuits, you will see a little bit of first lap chaos. He could be trying to position himself to hopefully avoid a little bit of that, yet still not start at the rear of the pack.
Hubert is not letting that spin in Q2 influence him whatsoever. He is now at the top, 1:39.068. That's the fastest Ferrari engine we've seen thus far today. So the lap times are dropping, and they're dropping at a pretty respectable click here. Tome has a DRS open, but he will only get up to 8th on the timesheets, 1:40.881, just 1,000th of a second faster than what Snake said.
I would not be surprised, honestly, if we saw Hubert drop into the 138s. He's right on the cusp right now. He just needs to drop a 10th of a second off his lap time, and that'll put him into the 138s easily.
The AlphaTauri of Electra Fritz has now exited the pit. There is only one other car in front of him, and that is Jono. So Jono and Fritz now are going to go out there. Fritz trying to improve on his lap. Jono trying to set his first lap. And the only other car on the track right now is Tome, who already set a lap earlier. I'm not sure if he's going to try and improve or not. I would at least try to improve if he can. He's really close to being dead last, but... And there's a yellow flag in Sector 3. That is from Hubert. No, it's not. That's from Jono. Has come to an almost complete stop in Sector 1. He's going to let Electric Fritz get by him. I think he's slowing down to enable Snake to catch up a little bit. Snake is in Sector 1, about to exit shortly. Yeah, there might be a little bit of a strategy game being played by Snake and Jono. I wonder if Snake's trying to intentionally bog down this lap, so that way Snake can catch up, Snake can get ahead of him, and then Snake would get ahead of Jono, and then Jono would have Snake's draft for the following lap.
Exactly.
Tom has gone ahead and pulled it into the pit lane. Right on board Jono. Here he is. Snake has caught to the back of him now.
And what we're gonna see a pass by Snake here as we approach the front DRS straight. As we see now that Jono has come up to speed.
Bit of McLaren team shenanigans. Now, while we're focusing on this, though, almost everyone who's from second to sixth, actually everyone who is between second and sixth, are out on a new outlap, and Hubert is now gaining his outlap as well. A lot of these drivers are in front of these two McLarens, but I don't imagine that the McLarens will run them down. I could be wrong, but I don't imagine they will. I think there's just enough of a gap to be able to make it work. Jono is staying ahead of Snake. I think maybe Jono is trying to stay ahead of Snake so Snake can improve his lap time. And Jono might just be like, look, I'll take it. I'll take a slower lap as long as I can get a lap in. That's my... Oh, no, here we are. This is the move.
Oh, here we go.
There we are. Jono moved over and got Snake in front. No! Jono invalidated the lap. Snake still has a clean lap, but he doesn't have the help of the draft that he was trying to give to Jono, so this is all going to be on ability. Can Snake improve on that time? Reminder, he pulled over for a brief second. That will compromise his lap time. I don't know if Snake's going to be able to improve on that time he said.
I think he's just going to barely get close enough to do it, and oh,
yes, he did.
He's come up to a 140.444.
Tom is on another outlap now. In fact, the entire field is now out on the circuit trying to improve here. The time is up in Q3. So as everyone comes by the line, it will be their final lap. Actually, Tom is not going to be able to improve on his lap time. He made the move too late. So yeah, Tom is going to be locked to a 140.881.
And I'm actually getting I'm actually seeing now in the stream chat that XRL Jaleb is reporting that the fastest qualifying time in X1 was a 137.9.
Well, I very obviously overestimate the driving ability going into this. Don't worry, I do not own a car. I'm not trying to set ridiculously high standards for you to get into. You do not have to worry about me. I'm just a guy who sits in his living room and commentates these races for the fun of it. I do not take what I say to heart. Irdisa, Hazel, and Hubert have all set their final lap times. 139.068 for Hubert, Hazel 139.183, Irdisa 139.232. Mon is coming down the straight. What can he do? He's currently fourth on the timesheets. Can he break into the top row? Yes, he does! Mon, 139.162, and Wallaby goes to the top, 138.862!
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Jono finally sets a lap time, but it was a very underwhelming lap time of a 141.035, but Wallaby and Hubert in the Ferrari engine cars lock out the Mercedes team from the front row.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is certainly starting to heat up here as we're now a mere less than 10 minutes away from the start of this race. And Beard Boost sending some congratulations to Flying Wallaby here in the stream chat on posting the fastest time as yet in qualifying, again with that 138.862.
So as our time winds down, everyone has finally set their last lap times here in Q3. Very, very, very engaging qualifying session, especially in Q2 and Q3, with a whole lot of lap time shuffling coming down just after the clock ran out. I'm gonna be very honest. Like, I honestly kind of thought that Hubert and Hazel were gonna be unbeatable at the top. I'm very pleased to see that there actually was really, really good spirited fighting at the top there. The top 5 spots all got reshuffled in literally the last minute. I apologize, I have some allergy issues. So running down the top 10, go ahead.
That's going to be Flying Wallaby and Hubert in the first row in P1 and P2. Row 2 is going to be XRL Mon and Hazel. Row 3, Ertica and Cargo. Row 4 is going to be Electrofritz and Snake. And row 5 is going to be Tome and Jono. Flying Wallaby posting the fastest time with a 138.862.
Now, a big thing to consider is that it was Cargo who actually got to the top of the timesheets in Q2, but he's not even in the top 5 in the final qualifying lineup. So, and he started on those he ran to the end of Q2 on the soft tire compound, so that strategy may have backfired a little bit on him personally. It was a worthy strategy for sure, but it might not have worked out quite the way he anticipated it.
Well, we've seen historically just how quickly the tables can turn in the F1 world, so I wouldn't necessarily count anyone out just yet.
Anyway, so now we're in a little bit of a break time between qualifying and the race itself. Real quickly, I'm going to open up my computer just so we can get a real quick look at how the point system stands. For those of you who were with us last week, it was Monaco. That was a crazy race, to say the least. A lot of really, really hardcore moves made throughout. Some that earned some penalties, some that end up being pure genius. Coming down to it, though, the points and standings when it comes to the X3 division. When we're looking at team points, it is Mercedes factory team with 166 points and Alfa Romeo with 125. McLaren has 78, Williams has 42, Renault 5th in the points in the manufacturer points title, 39. They're 6 ahead of Haas with 33. Aston Martin has 31. Scuderia AlphaTauri 28. Racing Point, also known as Force India back in the day, has 20, and then Ferrari has 18 in their factory team. It's been a very, very bad season for the Ferrari team. When it comes to drivers' points, though, going from the bottom to the top, Schold and Constant Jet are tied with 0 each in the Williams at the bottom of the point sheets. Fratters has 2, XRL Turbo has 4, XRL Blake has 5, Hazel has 6, and he's tied with Whippy, who also has 6. That's a tie for 14th position. Hubert has 8 in 13th. Gusty has 10 points. He is 12th on the sheets. Then XRL Cookie in the Ferrari, he has 12 points. Retro has 14 points. He is 10th in the overall points battle. 9th in the overall points battle is Electra Fritz, who also has 14, so that's a nice little tie going on there. XRL Jono, 8th in the points battle, has 23 points. Then Gazilio has 25. Devil has 34. And the top 5 from 5th to 1st is Cargo with 40. Snake with 43. Iridisa with 49. Flying Wallaby running away from the rest of the field with 85. And then XRL Mon starting to lose a little bit of that gap he had over him, 118 points. And apparently in X1 qualifying, it seems like I think Tamer or XRL Snake may have ended up on his side in one of the runoffs. So looks like X3 is not the only one putting on a very unique show right now, to say the least. Anyways, we're currently just standing by, waiting to load up the actual grid for the race itself.
I'm going to step away for a very brief moment. I will be right back.
All right. Again, we are just standing by as the entire field is readying up, and here we are. We'll get underway very shortly now, as we are now beginning our pace lap, and we are looking at a field of 19 drivers. And once again, Scholl, he's going to be leading up the back of the field, sadly, after making it to Q2, but getting a 5-place grid penalty. So we're going to go ahead and run you the field from last to first here on this warm-up lap. So, coming from last position, you're going to have Scholl in the Williams. Just ahead of him is going to be XRL Turbo. He's going to be in the Ferrari. He did not set a single lap time in any of the qualifying sessions. Retro did not advance into Q2. He was not able to get anything to work. He's going to start 17th. AK Smish is going to start in the 16th position. And ahead of him is going to be XRL Cookie. Fratters is going to be starting the 14th spot there in the AlphaTauri. XRL Blake is going to be the only Renault factory team representation today. He'll be starting the 13th position. Ahead of him, the Red Bull of Gazilio, and he will be sharing that 6th row with Gusty. And then the drivers who made it into Q1. XRL Dono with the McLaren will be sharing that 5th row with XRL Tome in the Red Bull machine. XRL Snake in the Renault is going to be starting 8th alongside the AlphaTauri of Electra Fritz. 6th is going to be XRL Cargo in the AlphaTauri. Aradisa, the lowest of the factory Mercedes drivers, will be starting 5th. Hazel will have 4th after leading a portion of Q1's time. Then in 3rd position, you're going to have XRL Mon, the other and highest Mercedes engine car. WCD Hubert is going to be starting 2nd in the Haas machine, and Flying Wallaby continuing to try and improve his championship hopes. He will be starting on the pole position. 19 drivers will be taking the green flag here for today's event at Azerbaijani.
I see that these drivers have now started the formation lap, working on getting those tires warmed up in preparation for the start of round 7 here at Azerbaijan.
The big thing to take interest in is that the top 5 will all be starting on medium tire compounds, and 6th to 10th will all be starting on soft tire compounds. 11th all the way down to 19th will almost completely be locked out with hards, the exceptions being Turbo, who will be starting on softs, and Blake, who will be starting on mediums. So a lot of tire strategy basically seeming to be grouped up by where you started the race at.
Indeed, indeed. And these drivers now forming back up at the line. We're just waiting for the lights, and it will be race time.
Nice and sunny day here, so I imagine everyone's going to be very happy to see that they are not likely to have to worry too much about potential rain.
All right, here come the lights. And away we
It's
go.
lights out and away we go here at Azerbaijani, and right off the line, Flying Wallaby, very, very solid, dives into turn number 1 without any real competition, and behind them though, everyone seems to have gotten through turn 1 without too much of an issue here, and there's wing pieces coming off though. I saw Mobile 1 labeled piece of debris go off, and that's Snake. Snake goes off, and there's a stack up there.
Massive pile on everyone from P9 all the way back to the end of the field, getting tied up in that.
Retro seems to have significant damage to that car. I think Smish is completely knocked out as well. Smish's car is completely ruined. Snake may have actually ended up being gained a big beneficiary from that. He ran off the circuit there, going down into turn 2. He ended up missing it, did not damage the car, but you can see Smish, well, you could see Smish's car. The left front tire is bent in, the entire front suspension is damaged. Our first dropout of the day as we are under virtual safety car here. Also of note is that the driver WCD Hubert, another bad start, started in second, falls all the way down to 10th before we even get out of sector 1, and we are under green here.
And we have 8 drivers involved in that initial lap 1 chaos, that being Hubert, Jesulo, Erika, Gusty.
Oh,
Smish,
and Retro has smashed the wall, and Gusty has gotten turned around, entering the castle section as well. A lot of chaos going on in the back of the field right now, all over the place. It's kind of hard to figure out what's going on where.
And surprisingly, no safety car.
At the front, though, Flying Wallaby and XRL Mon trying to open up a little bit of a gap as Cargo has moved up to 3rd, and Hazel seems to be dropping down the my entire lineup is being iffy. Don't look at the grid right now, people, because F1 2020 is going through one of its glitches.
And safety car is out. Safety car is out.
I had not seen what caused that, though. That's the frustrating part. I see a bunch of drivers all coming into the pits, obviously, to repair the damage. Iridisa is one of them who got damaged in that initially. I see it looks like 8 cars who all jumped into the pits to repair damage to their machine.
Let's see if we can get a handle here on what's going on. Certainly a very interesting start here to Azerbaijan, to say the least.
It's going to take a long time for the leader, Flying Wallaby, to get picked up by the pace car. Pace car is sitting on the exit of turn 2. Flying Wallaby is still in the castle section, so yeah, this will be quite a bit of waiting here. But a very chaotic start. A lot of stuff going on, Matt. Even with 2 sets of eyes, we are having trouble figuring out everything that happened. What we know for sure is that right at the start, WCD Bear started on the front row, had a very, very poor start, fell all the way from 2nd to 10th, and I believe that is one of the reasons why we ended up with such a massive stack up next to turn 2. We saw AK Smish's car get destroyed, at least 7 other drivers take damage, then Retro ended up taking damage, knocking the walls, trying to knock the walls down in the castle section once we did go green, and Gusty completely went offline there in about the same area as well. But it is Flying Wallaby who is still leading from the pole position here as he rounds the 2nd corner, and the pace car will finally pick him up. Electric Fritz is going to get a 5-second penalty for apparently speeding in the pit lane, so he already has something he needs to try and outrun today.
Without going too far into any speculation, what it initially looked like to me is that one of the racing points had lost traction, and coming around, it looked like that racing point belonged to Retro Rixie, who in turn made contact with Shield and just started that chain reaction. That's what it looked like to me at this point. That's conjecture. I'm not willing to place fault with a specific driver as far as that goes. That'll be primarily an issue for the stewards to sort out.
I will admit that if I have camera on something and I see something, I am a little bit more willing to place blame and point out something if a driver did it wrong. But I honestly could not see anything. And considering the nature of this street circuit, with two harsh 90-degree corners right off the bat and a slower driver at the front, I'm very willing to say anything could have happened. So it could be what you say. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying you could absolutely have it right. I simply don't know, and I could not see enough to say for sure.
Well, to be completely fair, one of the mistakes that a lot of commentators tend to make is sometimes we have a very limited view of what goes on with a particular incident, and oftentimes it's not the commentator's view of an incident that gets submitted to the stewards. It's very important that as commentators we remain as neutral as possible. This was actually a conversation I had with a fellow driver here recently. It's just objectivity is one of the biggest things.
No, absolutely. Right now we are still waiting on about 5 drivers to catch up to the back of the field, but I imagine that would probably be able to happen this lap. Cookie is the big really stand out. He's about half a lap down at the moment, but he's going full bore. The rest of the field is going at a much reduced pace. I do think he will be able to catch up to the back of the field probably before the end of this lap, and we will go green here on lap 5.
Ooh, and Urtica has apparently made contact between Urtica and Jazzola during safety car. I'm not quite sure what that's all about.
I'm trying to get a look and see if either of those cars have any damage. I'm not seeing any damage to the cars right now, but Irdisa, who's started in the top 5 all the way down to 13th now, is going to have to run even harder. Now he has to not only overtake the drivers he qualified ahead of, but he has to outrun a penalty as well. It can be done. You see it done in all tiers of the series here, but it's definitely a difficult thing to do for sure.
Indeed, safety car now coming out of castle sections. These drivers are going to start stacking back up, anticipating that we will go back green this lap.
Cookie, for all intents and purposes, has caught the back of the field finally. So yeah, of the 18 cars still on track, we should be underway now.
And lights have gone out on the safety car. Safety car will be coming in this lap. It'll be interesting to see who gets the better jump when we do go back green, as these drivers trying to get some additional heat into those tires to get the optimal race restart. Ooh, and looks like
5-second penalty.
A bit of contact between Carter and Mon as well. All right, safety car is in. Now crossing the timing line, we are back green and racing. Wallaby doing an amazing jump on the rest of the field, now opening up a almost full second gap.
Fritz and Blake are both wrecked coming out of turn number 1 here. They are both underway again, but Fritz and Blake plummet to the back of the field. In 2 separate instances, they both went around. But we are now looking at Alfa Romeo lockout in the top 2 positions. Oh, and Mon bounces into the wall! Mon has damaged the front man of the car. He's bouncing the wall and blocks the track for Fratters for just a brief moment. And now Hubert is caught up as well. So now that wounded Mercedes of XRL Mon is beginning to hold up the entire field behind him as the Alfa Romeos are walking up into the sunset. It was a little early to say walking off into the sunset, but they're definitely walking off into the distance. Oh, and he did it again! On, into the wall again in the castle section.
And following that, Freighters and Huber 3/10 of a second separating these drivers as they make the transition into sector 3. A little bit of a lockup there by Turbo. And safety car's out.
And a new safety car, and this looks like it's for Blake. Blake apparently has totaled his car there in the downhill corner. I'm going to guess that he may have taken some damage when he looped it around there in turn 1 on the restart, and he didn't compensate for that appropriately. So in the downhill corner, the car would have probably gone wide and smacked the outside wall. I can't see, we're not able to have cameras on him right now, but I'm going to guess that's probably what happened based on the positioning of his car on the map.
And
as Electra Fritz has jumped back into the pits.
Yeah, we have 5 drivers in the pits now. Huber, Turbo, Mon, Snake, and Fritz all in the pits. One that they're opting to go to the hard tires, see if they can run those out the remaining 20 laps of this race. And actually, no, the majority of them opting to go to a fresh set of mediums. Snake posting the fastest lap of the race with a 146.915.
Hubert's going to be the interesting one because he did jump onto the the hard tire compounds. So I'll be very interested to see if maybe Hubert has some sort of strategy that he can make work that everyone else can't. Hubert was trying to do some very unique stuff at Monaco, but it ended up biting him in the butt more and more than it helped him. But a little bit larger, longer track here, he might be able to make something work, having more clean air on that front wing today. Big thing is Cargo. Cargo, who was all the way up into second, went ahead, decided to pit, and he jumped onto the medium tire compounds. His teammate Wallaby is also on mediums, but it's the mediums he started the race on. So some split strategy going on within that team for sure.
So far, Wallaby still managing to hold on to pole position.
And the real one I'm really impressed on right now, Scholl took a 5-spot grid penalty from Solis restart dead last. He has stayed, for the most part, out of trouble, and what little bit he has been involved in has become very minimal. He is now up into the 3rd position in that road position.
And Fritz back here in P17, struggling to catch up with the rest of the field. Looks like let's see. And looks like the safety car is going to come around for one additional lap here now that the field has stacked back up. And looks like Gusty has been disconnected
Fritz is jumping
from
back in the pits.
session.
So it looks like Fritz is swapping from soft tire compounds to mediums.
Going over to that medium compound. Well, it's certainly been a interesting opening series of laps, and Retro Rixie has picked up a 5-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags. Looks like he's fallen victim to the delta around this track.
I do anticipate we will go green this lap. Despite pitting, Fritz is honestly not that far off from the back of Snake. I think they'll all be caught up once they get into the castle section.
Yeah. And Gusty has rejoined the session now.
I'm just right on board with Fritz right now on the stream simply because it's the most interesting visual stimulation you'll get at the moment. Now that he's caught the back of the field, gonna reposition the camera back to his teammate, Fratters, who is currently in the 2nd spot. He is the highest driver
and
in the field right now, who's around the hard tire
coming in this lap. Field stacking up behind Flying Wallaby as we get ready to get this race back underway.
If this does keep up, and I honestly hope it doesn't, but if this does keep up, we might as well just start scoring laps for the pace car. But here we are, it's going to be green on lap 8 here.
And apparently, crossing the line and back green. Oh, and
Fratters with a huge dive bomb going right into turn 1. He did it! He made it stick! Fratters and Scholl both go by Wallaby. Now Wallaby falls all the way to 4th as Hazel gets by him.
Oh, and massive lock up from Scholl here. So, amazingly enough, he was able to hold on to P2. Jump on board with
oh, and Retro has completely ruined the car! The car snapped out on him and the entire front suspension completely ruined. The car snapped against the outside wall, it broke the rear suspension, smacked it into the inside wall, and he came all the way across the track, and I think he may have made contact with another driver in the process. The other Alfa Romeo XRL Cargo is now going to come by. He has come out of the pits. He pitted. I'm not really sure why he pitted, but he pitted for new hard tire compounds. But we are back under the yellow flag once more.
And Shannon in the stream chat is saying, well, rest in peace to that racing point.
You can say that again. I don't think any part of that car is going to be salvageable after that incident.
She should change that to RPIP, Racing Point in Pieces. As much as we like to take the post allocation of some of these drivers, it's all in good fun. Just very unfortunate for Team Racing Point that Rixie encountered the situation that he did. So our hearts go out to the Racing Point team for that one.
Hazel trying to compensate for that though. He's working very hard to try and run down Prater, who's already overtaken Scholl here. There's a little bit of a split that's begun to form between 8th and 7th position between Iridisa and Turbo. Turbo is leading his own little pack of cars, and Iridisa is holding on to the back end of the top 7.
Following the close battle here between Fratters and Flying Wallaby for P2 and P3, Fratters now starting to open up a little bit of a gap between the two of them. Ooh, Wallaby getting a run on Fratters now as soon as he knows with it getting ready to come into turn 1. Hazel now posting the fastest lap with a 145.269 on the medium tires, and we now see race control has re-enabled DRS.
Meanwhile, a little bit farther back in the field, Mon is making his way back up, having carefully watching the two Mercedes cars. Mon was able to get by Snake. Now he has positioned himself in the 9th spot. He is back in the points contained positions. So right now it's going to be a matter of what team can salvage more points, the Mercedes team or the Alfa Romeo team. Right now.
Ooh, and Jono taking a look at Mon on the outside. And Mon also taking a look at Turbo, and Mon...
And Turbo hits Mon and knocks off one of the wing plates.
Jono taking another look at Mon here, ready to transition into Sector 2.
Castle section now. A little bit of that really tight, difficult uphill bit, very slow, very technically challenging for these massive Formula 1 cars. Now they open up to a nice little bit of a straight, some hard past corners. Oh, needs to be careful. He's missing the end plates on that car. If he pushes too hard, he might ruin it.
Jezero taking a look on Scholl here.
Hazel, fastest lap time.
4.288. Mon taking a bit of a look on Turbo here, and he's going to pull out. Is he going to get him? And
ooh, he almost ran over Scholl. Zillion nearly ran over Scholl there in the battle for 5th and 6th.
Jono taking a bit of a look at Turbo now.
Mon is definitely nursing that car a little bit through some of the slower corners. I think he's definitely aware of the damage, but even despite nursing it, he's opening up a little bit of a gap on XRL Turbo right now.
Closest battle going on right now is going to be between, appears to be between Snake and Jono. They may just be towing each other around track, waiting for a good opportunity to make a move on Turbo here.
Another battle that seems to be forming is one between Scholl and Zilio as they're now beginning to come out of the castle section. A nice little downhill run. Zilio is close enough to Scholl that he might be able to get DRS and make a DRS-assisted pass down the front straightaway here. The Williams drive with that Mercedes powered engine seems to be a little bit faster putting the power down. But with the trap, Zilio
that's all going to be dependent on the exit he gets out of the S's as well. As they're now come out on main straight, and he's got the DRS pulling out to the left-hand side. He's going to make the move, and he's going to get him.
Nice, smooth DRS-assisted overtake. And XRL Mon is pitting. It looks like the damage to that wing is considered too much to keep going, so Mon is going to go ahead and pit.
Between Jono and Turbo. That's going to be enough to bring out a yellow flag. And we have a virtual safety car. Fritz is out. Fritz is out.
I'm trying to see what happened to him, but I can't really get a good view of it. It looks like that car has gone around and got destroyed somehow in turn 1, but I'm not sure how that could happen. Tome has a 5-second penalty for apparently ignoring yellow flag. So Tome, who has worked his way all the way up into 4th, now is going to have to outrun a penalty. It looks like it's going to be another one of those classic X3 scenarios where we won't know the real true final order until after everyone's crossed the line, simply because of all the penalties. Hubert has been literally all over the track in positions. I don't think he's led yet, but he's been as high as 2nd, and all the way to the back, then he worked his way back up to 5th, now he's 15th, last of all the drivers still on the track. We're not quite halfway to the way through this race yet, but I'm going to be honest, I think Mon's decision to go ahead and swap to hard tire compounds might end up being a very good one, because he's just going to have to bring those hards home. He won't have to worry about pitting again, assuming he stays out in the front.
Now, one thing that was actually mentioned in the posted up in the stream chat is the amount of yellow flag violations we've seen today. Kind of makes me wonder if that might not be a side effect of the Delta system at Azerbaijan being a little bit messed up. So it's very possible that those time penalties for the Delta may be taken off by the stewards if incidents are submitted on them. That remains to be seen. But more commonly, that's where you will see the ignoring yellow flag penalties from is the Delta.
We may not even have a true idea as to what the race results are until not only after the race, but possibly until tomorrow, just because there may be a lot of penalties that the game gives out that the stewards might end up rescinding later on.
Exactly. And we're seeing a couple drivers in the pits. Actually, cargo coming out of the pit lane now. Cookie's going to beat him around, and we're anticipating the field should be stacked up here within the next lap, and we'll be going back green, potentially on lap 14 or lap 15, as we're now starting to see a lot of separation in the field. And wait, have we actually got back green already?
Yeah, we've been green for about 2/3 of a lap.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that. I apologize, folks. Apparently, I had missed that.
It happens. So a big thing of interest is that Mon and Wallaby have both made what will likely be their last pit stop, swapping over the hard tire compounds. Wallaby pitted out of the top spot. Mon did not. Wallaby is still a significant amount ahead of him, assuming he doesn't make any mistakes. I think Wallaby is going to end up finishing ahead of Mon. I don't imagine either of those drivers.
Hang on. Jezlo making a move on Tom here, and Jezlo's going to get him.
Nice smooth, and now Gazilio on those medium tire compounds up to 3rd position. Everyone is basically on a different set of tires than what they started the race on, but the likes of our top 6 drivers actually, are all on tires that they pitted on after taking damage in the instance that went down on the first lap. So they will have to pit again one way or another. There's no way you can make hards that have 11, 13 laps last another 12 laps today. That's ridiculous.
Now, that being said, Flying Wallaby, Mon, and Huber, their hards are 5 laps old. We could be looking at a potential undercut here, as well as Dusty on the mediums. If we can make some of that time up, that could potentially get them all into the top 10.
One thing's for sure, once pit stops begin, we are definitely going to see this race get turned on its head once more in terms of where everyone has position-wise on the racetrack. But right now, Gazillo has caught up to the rear end of Fratters, the under team versus the main team for Red Bull. As they're coming downhill, I imagine Gazillo will have DRS assist if they decide to stay out another lap.
And especially with Jezlo having those slightly fresher medium tires, when he does hit that DRS detection point, he can get the run on Fratters if he needs to unseat him from P2. And
he definitely hit the DRS and got right into him. He made contact. He made contact and ended up going wide and spinning to the infield. Coming out of turn number 1, so now Gazilio Plummus is going to lose a bunch of positions that he made up earlier. Rough time for him, and this means that Eridisa now goes up to the 3rd position. I think the real impressive part, I'm just going to say this real quick, the really impressive part, Hazel, 21-second interval between himself and Fratters right now. Hazel might be far enough ahead that when he pits, he can pit and lose almost no positions.
And Cargo now posting a 143.227 for the fastest lap of the race. And you're absolutely right. It's so important in street circuits like this in the year that you're able to build up a time buffer like that, so you can afford to, as much as you want to avoid it, you can afford to make a mistake or two and still be able to hold on to a reasonable time interval. As we are now just past the halfway point in this race, 15 laps down out of this 26 lap affair, seeing a little bit separation among the field right now. Closest battle right now is going to be between Flying Wallaby and Turbo, with Flying Wallaby 4/10 of a second behind Turbo as they're now well into sector 3. And it looks like Jono's getting run on Jazalo here to the he's actually overtaken him for P6. And Schuld getting a run on Schuld having a run on there momentarily with Tome.
Iridisa and Fratters having their own little fight. Iridisa wants clean air. Fratters is not going to just let him have it. They're going to be neck and neck as they come in the run down to turn number 3. They make contact! And they make contact again! And Iridisa and they both get involved in the incident. And Iridisa, the day continues to slip away from his fingers. He falls all the way to 6th. And here comes Flying Wallaby. Wallaby is now going to overtake him. They make contact! He wrecks him! He wrecked the potential race leader! Iridisa and Flying Wallaby, 2 championship contenders, and the other Mercedes involved also! All 3 championship contenders involved in the accident here! Flying Wallaby, Iridisa, all involved in a stack-up. We're still in a green position, but I think that may have just given Hazel the win by virtue of the 3 fastest cars on track all being damaged in a stack-up. Wow, what? Wow, I even saw it and I can't believe it. You couldn't believe it if you didn't see that, folks.
And what were we just talking about here about the race potentially being flipped on its head? And ladies and gentlemen, we've seen that develop right before our eyes. Coming back.
Iridisa smacks the outside wall. He has totaled the front wing of that car. I don't know if he's gonna be able to make it the rest of the way down.
And that is going to bring out the virtual safety car.
Flying Wallaby has dropped out of the session as well. I believe the damage on his car has been too extreme. Yes, it is. Flying Wallaby, and he hits. Flying Wallaby's right in the lane, and Cargo ends up hitting Flying Wallaby as well. So Flying Wallaby smacks the outside wall from the damage he took. Cargo Cookie had nowhere to go. It was not Cargo, it was Cookie, but Cookie ended up smacking into the stalled car of Flying Wallaby, and it ruined him as well.
My. So we now have 6 drivers out of the field of 19 that are out of this race. Ladies and gentlemen, the complexion of this race changing very much in the last 2 to 3 minutes. As we're seeing a number of drivers coming into the pits now, we have Jono, Schuld, Fratters, Tome, and Ertica all in the pits now, looking to change out tires, repair wing damage, and that's completely flipped this grid from back to front.
Hazel is basically locked up the race victory. He has not pitted yet. He now has 47 seconds over second place XRL Mon. And the big thing is, Mon, despite getting caught up in that incident with Flying Wallaby and his teammate Iridisa, he's now second. He's positioned to walk out here with a bunch of points. I think in the Manufacturers Championship at least, this race might end up enabling Mercedes to lock up the Manufacturers Championship before we even get to halfway. I know that's not mathematically possible, but in all realistic chances, it looks like that's going to happen. Hazel staying out another lap on the mediums. He now has 15 laps on them. I have to wonder how long Hazel's going to run on those mediums. At some point, he's going to have to pit and jump onto a different set of tires. He has a massive gap, though. As I said, although it's starting to drip away faster and it's now falling to 43 seconds over Mon, it's still, he's going to have to change at some point before those tires end up going through critical failure. Also, want to give a quick mention to Schuld, who is currently in the 5th position. He is running soft tire compounds. I imagine he is trying to see if he can chase a fastest lap.
Ooh, Jono having a look at Mon here for P2. And a moment ago, we were talking about race strategies and tire compounds. It seems now that with these last couple of laps, virtually all those strategies have been thrown out the windows. Now these drivers being in a position of trying to determine what the best strategy is going to be going forward. And Erdica having a run at Huber, and Erdica is going to slide into P10.
Back into the points paying position for both of the Mercedes machines.
With now just under 8 laps to go of this 26 lap, but it's been an absolute shootout, and Erdica trying to come into position to overtake Turbo here.
Hazel has pitted, and he's swapping over to the soft tire compounds. So he may also be trying to see if he can get fastest clean lap. There's going to be no one on track around him when he comes out, so he'll definitely have the clean air. He needs to see if maybe he can put down qualifying like times if he wants that extra point. XRL Tome has now moved ahead of Fratters there in the positions for 6th and 7th spot. As Iridisa right behind Turbo, he's in the DRS striking zone. Will he be able to make it? DRS assisted overtake down the straightaway. Yes, he will. He's already got it. He's looking on the outside. Turbo not really in position to put much of a fight as they go by the start-finish line. Hubert comes flying up into it, but he's a little bit too late to the party to make anything happen. If he wants to do something, he's going to have to do something to Hubert on the second straight, what you might as well call the back straightaway, as Turbo smacks the outside wall just a little bit. Now Hubert has DRS open. He's falling right in behind Turbo. Very nice, smooth overtake. Very nice, very smooth done there, and Turbo's now going to drop out of the points main positions.
Fratter's trying to come into a position to take a look at Tome transiting through Castle, just literally on his gearbox, absolutely letting him know he's there. Just 6 laps to go now, as the field has whittled down from 19 drivers to 13 drivers, seeing on the average about a 2-second gap between most drivers on the circuit. The largest gap between Hazel and Mon at 25 seconds, which Mon has managed to whittle off a significant amount of time off what was once a 43-second gap.
Part of that whittling, though, came from off the back of Hazel decided to dump in, hit, swap with the soft tire compound. I'll be very interested to see if Hazel can make it on the softs, and also Schultz, because if Schultz stays in those softs, he's going to be running soft tire compounds that will have 8 laps of wear on them at the end. So, I'll be very interested to see what they can do. Jono's still giving hard chase to Mon in the second position right now.
Tome taking a look at Fratters, and Tome's going to overtake Fratters for P6.
These two keep swapping positions, and they're both just a little bit too far away to really do anything to Gazilio. In fact, Gazilio has actually run down the battle between Mon and Jono for second and third, so it looks like we may have a 3-way shootout for a bottom 2 steps of the podium here. Excuse me. Sorry about that.
You know, I don't know, kind of looking at this.
And come on, Jono! Jono has spun himself around and wrecked the car there in the second sector. He's turning it back around, but the entire front wing is destroyed. Hazel, fastest lap time, 142.522. But Jono is now going to drop out of the podium, and I think he's probably going to have to pitch repair the car. He might, if he's even able to make it all the way around, he might not even finish in the points paying positions now. The damage on that car is extremely extreme. Extremely severe.
Extremely extreme and extreme. I love it. They don't call Extreme
battle
racing.
between Tome the battle between Tome and Fratters is really quickly catching up to that damaged car of Dono. Hopefully Dono won't be in the way. He'll be able to pit in enough time.
And
Yes, he will. He will be able to
taking
pit.
a little bit of a look at Tone here.
But the big thing is he wasn't able to make anything happen to Tome because Tome was really close to Dono, and he was close enough that when they went through the DRS zone, it enabled Tome to utilize his DRS, so Tome was able to defend. Now this time down the back straightaway, we see Fratters has DRS, Tome does not, but the gap is a lot larger this time. I think that little incident with Dono may enable Tome to work out a very solid defense against Fratters as Fratters taps the inside wall there in turn number 3. No damage to that car, but that's definitely going to make this a little iffy. And then behind Fratters is XRL Cargo, the only remaining Alfa Romeo car on the track, trying desperately to salvage anything from this day. And there's a little bit of debate bounce.
Lost an endpoint. Or now that was
Tome still has it.
Fratters lost the endpoint. It looks like he might have had a little bit of incidental contact with Tome coming through there.
It was either that or his contact with a wall, one of those two, but Cargo is all over him now. He needs to be very careful when he overtakes him, not to make sure he doesn't end up in a scenario like his teammate Flying Wallaby did earlier.
Cargo holding back, taking that look at him. I think he's going to wait for the DRS straight to make his move here. He's holding him off at about a 4 to 6 tenths of a second gap consistently. He should have enough to get him on the DRS straight here, though.
A little bit farther back, a battle for the last points-paying position is going on between Jono and Turbo. Jono, and Snake has totaled his car.
Oh, jeez.
I can't see what's happened, but very quickly Hazel will come up on it, and it's in the castle section. The car is destroyed right in the middle, and Hazel takes damage, hitting him. Snake's car is stationed, is stuck right there. That is finally despawned, but Hazel may have taken a little bit of damage. Yes, Hazel has, I think, a little bit of damage. One of the end plates on that wing is gone, but he still has 28 seconds over second. I think he'll be fine as long as he doesn't push the car too hard. But our leader takes a little bit of damage as Snake damages it, and Fratters is out! Something has happened to Fratters. He has gone out on the runoff there. At the end of turn 3, the car seems to have just gone straight off into the outside wall. I'm not sure what happened. We are very quickly en route to seeing only 11 drivers finishing, just like what we did at Monaco.
And Turbo making a run on Jono here. It looks like he is going to get him. Oh no, Jono's going to hold him out of P9. Ladies and gentlemen, we have very quickly seen this go from nearly a full field to almost half of the field has now DNF. With just over three laps to go. We were talking here at the start of this race about how quickly fortunes can change in the Formula 1 world, and we're now seeing clear evidence of that as we now have 8 drivers out of the starting field of 19 are now gone out of this race. Coming up,
the big thing is a race that Flying Wallaby took pole for. It looked very likely that he was going to win and really close that gap on the championship. Everything's turned on his head. Wallaby knocked out, not even close to a point-paying position in the end after making contact with his 2 rivals in the points. And now the Mercedes teams just need to bring the cars home, and they're going to further their lead in both drivers and manufacturers' points. This race may be the deciding race when it comes down to championship in both drivers and manufacturers.
Indeed, indeed.
Gazilio, once again, now it's his turn. Gazilio is starting to close in on Mom this time.
Cargo being held out by 5 tenths of a second behind XRL Tone. It'll be interesting to see what happens in this once he gets into the next DRS detection point. See if he's able to overtake him and make it into the top 5 and try to make a run for potential podium in this race. Cargo Cargo fighting the track just as much as the field, but who's managed to hold position, bouncing back from that earlier incident.
He's definitely got to be within the DRS detection range. This will be a battle for 5th position if he can make something happen. Into the DRS detection zone. Where the DRS is. Let him have it. Let Cargo open up that rear wing.
All right, he's
going to
pull out
drag.
to the
He's going to look
left-hand
to the
side,
inside.
and he is going to get him. So Cargo will pull into P5 and manage to pull out 3/10 on Tome, but Tome not wanting to give it up that easily. He's making a run on him to try to get that position back.
Tome has DRS now to respond here on the back straightaway, but this is a much, much shorter back straightaway. He's going to have to make something work now. He does.
He's
got to go right into it.
Just over
But now Cargo's going to try and cross over. Not enough room to make the crossover. He's trying to make it stick, and he knocks himself into the wall.
Just over 2 laps to go. This battle definitely heating up.
Schold on those 6-lap warn stops is dropping off fast of the podium spots. There's still 17 seconds though between himself and XRL Tome, so I think as long as Schold keeps it out of the wall, he will take a dead last starting position and bring it home to a 4th spot. Very, very respectable run today, for sure. But I think the real respectable runs we're going to be looking at, and everyone's going to be talking about at the end, is going to be XRL Mon. A race where he was involved in incidents earlier, got involved in the incident mid-race, was off because everything seemed to be going apart from him. He gets caught in an incident with the leaders, and in the end, he's able to capitalize, make everything work. He's going to finish 2nd, while his biggest rival in the title doesn't even get points. If I know we're still a lap and a half away from the end of the race, but if I had to vote for driver of the day, I think I have to vote for either Schold or Mon. Those two have put on
Tome
shocking. Down that back straightaway, Tome has the DRS open. Cargo is defending, so Tome's going to go to the outside.
And he's got him. These two drivers just going back and forth for these last couple of laps.
Right underneath Cargo's rear wing again as they're beginning to exit the first sector and into the 2nd sector here.
And Hazel getting ready to come across the line for his final lap. Looks like he's all but cemented this victory.
Yep, just needs to make sure he doesn't make any mistakes.
Famous last words.
Well, it's going to be the last words one way or another, because either Hazel makes no mistakes and wins, or he makes a terrible mistake and loses.
I'm willing to go for from what we've seen out of Hazel already. So I'm willing to go with he's pretty well got this one in the bag. I mean, he's got almost a 22-second bite taken out of XRL Mon. So, barring any significant race incident, I would say that he's got this one locked down.
A little bit farther back, that battle for 5th and 6th continues. Cargo had DRS, but was only able to get underneath the rear wing of that Red Bull, was not able to do anything else. But he's going to have one more chance at making DRS happen as they go down the back straightaway. The rear end of Tome's car seems to shake a lot more exiting corners than it does for Cargo. Cargo is nice and put together. Down that straightaway now, DRS is open. Again, though, Cargo not able to make anything happen to Tome. It looks like Tome may have put on a good defense and will end up ahead of Cargo at the end. That could be, but it's looking like Tome is going to take home 5th and Cargo will take home 6th.
And Hazel exiting the S's now onto the
Don't know
main
how to run
straight.
off in. Sorry. Nono had a runoff. He ran really, really wide going into the second corner, ended up running to runoff. He's back on. He's still
going to
in
bring
ninth,
home the checkered flag for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Second place from what we're seeing is going to go to Man, Jazlo third, Schold and Tome finishing fifth.
Gusty has dropped out. Something has happened to Gusty that has made him retire from the session. So we're only going to have 10 drivers finishing the race.
Ladies and gentlemen, we said from the start that this was going to be a very, very interesting race, and it has shaped up to be exactly that.
So, okay, yeah, that was really, really close. I saw Gusty remain for a brief second. Gusty totaled that car in the S's on the front, right before you enter the DRS zone of the front straight. Now, no one else caught him, but it was very, very close between Tome and Cargo. I think Cargo had a run that he was starting to stay up on Tome. They had to pull out and abort just so he wouldn't run into him. Iridisa also nearly hit him, but I thought Monaco would be really bad, but this race, 19 starters, only half the field finishes.
That's harkening back to Development League yesterday, where we actually had nine drivers had DNF'd out of a similar field of I believe we had a full field of drivers, and 9 of those drivers never saw the end of the race.
Yono is now going to come across the line. He will lock up 9th, and Turbo is coming behind him. He will lock up the 10th position. But Hazel, the big driver of the day, he is going to pull home a victory. Very, very hard-earned victory considering how crazy this race was. But with a little bit of luck, a little bit of strategy, he ended up with a nearly 3/4 minute lead over the rest of the field. Took that home, was able to make an entire extra stop without having to worry about anyone else. Wonderful, wonderful job by him. I'm going to try and invite him on in and see what he has to say about his day today.
All right. Excellent. And while we're waiting too, I actually want to get Jono in on here to get his thoughts on this on the back and forth battle with Turbo. All right, and we are now live here with XRL Jono up here in the commentary booth. Just wanted to get your thoughts on today's race, and it looks like you had some pretty significant battles going on with Turbo. If you'd care to include your audio as well.
Yeah, I don't really remember seeing much of Cargo apart from I think after
I'm sorry,
Turbo.
I apologize. Turbo, I apologize.
Yeah, Turbo, we had a bit of a battle towards the end, but I'm not very happy with my race because I was fighting Mon for P2 at one stage and then I pinned it.
Yeah.
So
one thing we're curious about is did you have a view on the turn 1 incident? Looks like the back half of the field got into a significant amount of carnage. We're interested to know if you saw anything from your position.
All I know is that Snake, my teammate, was caught up in it and lost a wing. I didn't see anything really. A lot of smoke.
Yeah. Well, very significant, very solid run out of you today. Well, it's definitely a pleasure watching you, and definitely a pleasure watching you race. And we look forward to more of that from you in the future.
Thanks, mate. Cheers for this.
No problem. All right, not a problem. We're going to see if we can get Hazel in here.
I've tried inviting Hazel twice. He might not be in a position where he's able to jump in with us, so... He might jump in if he sees you, though. Maybe a more familiar name will make him a little bit more comfortable.
Alright, give me just 1 second. I'll see if I can get him in here.
One thing's for sure, though. Qualifying was engaging, but relatively calm. We only really saw one dropout in one instant in... Well, we saw 2 spins, but one real significant instant there. In the race itself, very chaotic. Only drivers in the points-paying positions end up finishing the race. Just to put things in perspective, like, granted, I've not been with XRL for a huge amount of time, but this is the simple, most chaotic race I've seen in terms of DNFs ever. Almost all of them due to crash and instance like that. Some cases we see drivers get caught up in instance, and they get going thinking, oh, I'm fine, I didn't take too much of a damage, but these cars are so aerodynamically sensitive, and the walls here are close, comparable, not exactly comparable, but somewhat comparable to Monaco, that you take some of the cars at full speed, and you can end up completely totaling your car. Then we saw many instances where drivers would hit the wall, damage themselves, and end up blocking the track for other drivers and ruining their days as well. Just absolute madness all the way through.
Indeed, and I just got a message back from Hazel. Unfortunately, he's having some mic issues and is not going to be able to join us up in the commentary booth. So unfortunately, we're not able to get his words on his very significant race win today. So we may be able to catch a word from him in the Discord chat to kind of get his thoughts on that. But wrapping everything up today, very exciting race going on. I think I can say we were all kind of surprised by the sheer amount of carnage in the closing half of this race. But Insane, I'm going to go ahead and let you close us out with your final thoughts. Again, very exciting race from everyone today.
I think the 3 biggest things to take away from this race is 1, tire strategy in the end meant nothing. Yes, the hard and medium tire compounds were still the tires to go with, but it didn't matter because when it came down to the actual race itself, strategizing was pointless. You never knew who you were going to get involved in and what instance you had to avoid. I think basically every single car on track either got involved in an instant or had to avoid an instant at some point today. The second big point I would take away is the complete collapse from the Alfa Romeo team. Flying Wallaby was on strategy and on point to easily lock up a win or at least a second place finish if he couldn't run down Hazel. Got caught up fighting with the drivers on track that he's fighting within the points. He pushed too hard, and instead of trying to conserve the car, once he got away from it, smacked it in the wall, and that destroyed his day. That very easily could have been the end for the serious championship hunt from him. And then the third thing to take away from this was the fact that you need to not get cocky and overconfident with the end of the race. We saw the last driver of the day drop out on the last lap of the event today. You cannot, I repeat, you cannot just think, oh, last lap, I can cool down. You have to stay focused. Maybe not push super hard, but you have to stay focused here. Those would be the 3 main points I'd take away from this race. But once again, I want to thank you real quick once more, Patriot, for joining me in the booth here. To the XRL guys, I'm sorry I was a little bit late showing up, but again, thank you for having me on, and I will more than likely be able to be here for next week's race as well.
All right, absolutely. It's always a pleasure to commentate with you. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to close us out for X3 today. We encourage you to tune in with us next Sunday for the Canadian Grand Prix. And everyone else, have a pleasant rest of your evening.
All right, I've been St. Lear 13 for the XRL F1 2020 series. I'm signing off. Farewell.